Now, we all know and love the brand Pioneer when it comes to car audio because, well, let's face it, they've been around a heck of a long time. But when it comes to audiophile grade performance, Pioneer certainly stands above because they have such control not only from their engineering and research and development, but also manufacturing. And with that, we have their product expert, Robert Money, joining us today. And we're going to dive into how Pioneer thinks about the audiophile sound, as well as some new toys that just came out to market that I know everybody's buzzing about. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Pioneer, and it starts now. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. We're talking audiophile gear. You know this is my favorite segment for the entire year. We've got Robert coming in the studio. Robert, this is a really exciting time for Pioneer because we're going to get into all the philosophy and all that great stuff. But there's some new offerings that have been really at the top of everybody's mind. Hopefully, we can talk about that. What did you have in mind for our discussion?
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me with you today. I'm probably excited as you are today for those audiophile sessions, especially with all the hype that we are and the attention that we're receiving recently with the introduction of the new DMH WT6000 NEX. So one thing that I want to highlight here is no matter what you're looking at, when you're looking at audiophile grade type of component, Pioneer will always be there to do that. But we also have within our DNA and mindset that we want to bring audiophile grade quality to the masses, which means keep those things affordable for most people and not creating a crazy expensive price tag unit.
Well, Rob, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get into it with you. But first, a quick opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind everybody why it's an awesome add-on sale. And when we come back, let's get into some audiophile discussion with Robert from Pioneer. Don't you dare go away.
Hi, Paul Truman here with SiriusXM. We reached out to some of our partners in the industry, and here's what they had to say.
I can't say more or enough about just what it means to have our unit working with SiriusXM. It's like we're there now.
The SiriusXM service is something consumers want, right? So it's Paul.
That allows a consumer to listen to either podcasts, entertainment, sports, all at their fingertips. It's all about engagement, and that's what SiriusXM provides.
SiriusXM is a huge component in a vehicle nowadays. Consumers expect that technology to be available both in our OEM system as well as the aftermarket upgrades that they're applying to their vehicle.
Alpine and SiriusXM, through our electronics, are able to offer the consumer on the aftermarket side SiriusXM 360L, which is an expanded platform for SiriusXM. And it's really been a beneficial relationship for us with SiriusXM.
As a dealer, just remember, we don't compete with anybody else. We are absolutely one of the best profitability accessories you can add to any head unit that is SiriusXM ready.
And welcome to the show. Before the break, we're about to get into a conversation about what audiophile grade gear means to Pioneer. And that is an important question because the word audiophile, well, that could be interpreted by different people into different things. One of the first topics we're going to kind of cover here is the true distinction between the expectation of what audiophile grade means and reality, especially when it comes to being in a car environment. So I guess let's start with, what that means, Robert, and how important the entire chain of components is when it comes to building the right system for that critical listener.
Great question, Ben. I think first we need to clarify something. Personally, I think there's a big misconception about what is audiophile. Most of the time, people are matching audiophile with exotic type of offer, and those are totally two different type of things. So things as a comparison with cars, like Bugatti is doing exotic car, pretty expensive, fancy, a niche type of offer. But this is not necessarily something that will be as crazy on the daily ride as a Porsche can be, as an example. So if we go back to that audiophile, I think audiophile is by definition something that will give you all the details, the liveliness, and more importantly, lifelike sound that you should have from the recording from the audio system that will deliver what the producer and the recorder from the recording studios were looking at. So basically, the best audiophile sound system should deliver exactly what it was within the recording studio, no more, no less. And this is not necessarily attached with a specific 4 or 5 digit price tag.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of on board with that theory because let's be honest, some of these really exotic pieces of gear that I've always dreamt about, I will never attain because they are too expensive. So even for myself, there is always going to be the word budget involved when it comes to trying to build my audiophile experience. Having said that, Robert, one of the challenges that we need to talk about is that the source material has changed over the years. At one point, the cassette deck was the reference. After that, CD came out. For a brief time, DVD came out. But more recently, I think we all understand that um, our experience is limited to the type of source that we are putting through our system. And in today's world of digital media, that seems a very confusing proposition. I mean, between the Apple convenience of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, uh, versus some of these high res sources such as LDAC, for example. I just want to touch on the world of streaming audio these days versus the expectation and the actual delivery of that performance through an audiophile type system.
Yeah, actually, we all strive for great audiophile performance, but we need to be honest there. Um, uh, when will you really take time to download the music, lossless file, or any type of great sound quality content? Put those on a thumb drive or a hard drive in a way to enjoy those songs from a cable connection within the car, especially if you are doing daily commuting, where it's always a rush to jump in the car and doing those type of things. So most of the time, and I'm including audiophile people in this as well, because we all know, and we need to be honest on it. Uh, Most, not to say all people, will do music listening in the car from streaming services, from wireless connection with their smartphone, where they have music already downloaded if they want to enjoy the best sound quality, or something that is qualified as not the best scenarios, but still there as a product offer, which is really real-time streaming, where the sound quality of those track will not be in line with the music that already took time to download within my smartphone, listening on the memory chip from the smartphone, giving me the best lossless sound quality. So there's always a trade from quality and convenient. But with the 6,000 that we just introduced, we took time to relook at all the design in a way to minimize that gap between the quality side and the convenience side, in a way to have both worlds work together. And that is, I think, a first in the industries for this year, and probably the reason why we're making a hype right now with the new receivers that we just introduced. So no matter the type of streaming services or wireless communication you'll have from the phone, we will make sure that you will have the best communication between the source and the Pioneer AV receivers to give you the best sound quality we can achieve.
Robert, I want to highlight what you just said there. And you said closing the gap between convenience and quality. Well, this has been, for me and for many enthusiasts out there, the challenge. We are torn between our convenience of stuff like Apple CarPlay and at the same time knowing that we're paying for a system that is probably not performing at its potential because you're right. I'm lazy. I am not downloading these things and putting on a drive and organizing everything and bringing to the car. I don't have time for that because I need to get from A to B and get there. So I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper. We're talking about that brand new unit, the 6000 NEX. We did a live on it. Let's go deeper on that. What exactly has Pioneer done to this new unit to close that gap between convenience and quality of audio?
Okay, we did a major change in the design. This is actually the best sounding touchscreen receivers that Pioneer ever made. So it's not based on the previous design where we improved something. So the power supply section is totally new with massive 28,700 microfarad capacitor bank that will filter out the noise. In addition to that, we have a huge processing power that is a 64-bit architecture's quad-core chip with a copilot that is a dual-core 32-bit processors. So this is really the type of architectures you will find in good computers today or the recent smartphone. Down the road, if we follow the path of the audio thing into the receiver, we also have a dedicated DSP processor that is tailor-made for and from Pioneer. This is a Pioneer chip that will take care of 100% of the audio processing within that unit. So no matter what the type of things that the unit will deal, you will not feeling any responsiveness issues or slower reaction or changing the sound quality because the unit is doing streaming versus basic audio playback from a direct source. Or again, if the car is equipped with a start-stop features, then you will not listen to that voltage dropout from the car because the car shut down at the red light while the time you are listening to the music, as an example. And last but not least, specifically for the wireless streaming section, we added a dedicated post-regulation system, so dedicated power supply for the wireless chipset, and we relook at all the process from the antennas and the chipset that we use within the wireless communication, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, in a way to make a signal that is 4 times better than what it was. So the end result of that is a unit that will not only give you audiophile grade type of music from a direct USB cable connection, but more importantly, something that will give you that great audiophile grade sound quality in a wireless world experience. So that's why we are saying that we're closing the gap. Just fun fact here. So when I was doing the test on the sample unit on my bench test earlier this summer, looking at the software and those things, because it's part of the process for me here to work with the product planning team in Japan to have the final polish stage on the software parts of the unit, but at the same time doing the training deck for the dealers and distributors. Most of the time I'm doing the first listening session as a background type of music, and I'm continue to do my task on the computers. So basically passive type of listening. From the first hearing that I had on this piece this year, I stopped everything that I was doing and I switched to an active type of listening. So I took time to stay in front of the speakers, play with different sets of speakers, car speakers, but also home bookshelf speakers because it's on my bench desk here. So I'm having the best environment to do critical analysis of the music. So if there's something wrong within the listening, I'll hear it because I'm not in a noisy environment from the car. I'm within the best environment, let's say it this way. And I was able to discern details out of the music from wireless CarPlay that I never heard before. So it pushed me to do the comparison with different units that I have here on good sets of speakers, including my S2EX that I have in my stereo system downstairs, in a way to compare both wireless and wired CarPlay system. And I was able to enjoy wireless CarPlay with sound quality that was as good, if not say better than wired CarPlay connection. So that is a huge improvement versus what we had before. So, and this is why we're saying that we're closing the gap, because now I can say to the people who will buy that piece that they will enjoy great sound quality, even if they're not into the perfect setup. So let's say the convenient side of the wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto.
So, Robert, I heard what you said, and I just want to repeat it. You are saying that this is the best sounding Pioneer full screen unit that Pioneer has ever created. Not only that, but that the improvement on the wireless CarPlay sound quality is at a level that has never been achieved before. So we're going to hold you to that. I want to circle back on three things that I think our listeners really want to learn a little bit more about. The three things that I wrote down here is A, there is a brand new Pioneer chip being introduced in this new unit. B, the dolphin chip that we see in some of these images. I want you to talk to us a little bit more about that and how coincidental that it happens to be a dolphin. And last but not least, the importance of the new expanded onboard memory. So again, let's talk about the Pioneer chip, the dolphin chip, and the onboard memory.
Okay, first thing first, the Pioneer dedicated DSP DAC. So yes, this is a chip that we made. So it's not made by someone else. This is a Pioneer chip, and it is doing 100% again of the audio management within the unit. So even if we design the 6000 with a main brain, like the quad core 64-bit is the main brain doing all the tasks, we decided to go in a specific way of the design to avoid any possible interaction that will create possible noises from crosstalk. So as an example, if I'm handling or managing the audio process within the same chip that I'm doing the video processing, as an example, this may interfere. So the video signal may create some kind of noise to the audio signal. So by doing a separate chipset design, we're avoiding that. And at the same time, there's no better way to make sure that you are mastering the audio chain than doing your own chip. The best example is look what Apple did in the past years. So they are mastering the hardware, they are mastering the software and the App Store, whatever, on their product. And this is a great recipe. We can't deny that. So this is pretty similar to that. Second question, the main processor. So that Dolphin, by the way, Dolphin is not a Pioneer name. This is the code name of Telechip chipset that we're using. So this is their code name for the Telechip processor that we're using. And just to, again, give you some comparison on the processing power, this is the typical architectures that you'll find in good smartphone of these days. But I can also tell you that that chipset that we use in the 6000 is the same chipset that Porsche is using in their latest great car with the full dashboard system with the infotainment system. So the cluster dash, the heads-up display, and their infotainment system is fully managed by the same 8032 chip that we're using. So our main processor that is managing one display is actually doing all the process for all the dashboard in that Porsche. So this is why I'm saying that we have a beast that is sleeping on the power side. So, and this is part of the great expandability and why the unit is so responsive when you are doing interaction with it. We overbuild that design. And to match with that, and your last question, 16 gig of RAM. Here again, put that into perspective. The last iPhone 16 Pro is having 8 gig of RAM. Samsung Galaxy S4, the core line, is having 8 gig of RAM as well, and only their top of the line from the S24 is having 12 gig. We have 16, and it's DDR4. So if you compare with a unit that we have on the market right now, the little brother of the 6000, which is the DMHWT 3800 NX, we're moving from 4 to 16. So 38, 4 gig, 6000, 16 gig. DDR4 for the 38, DDR3 for the 38, and DDR4 for the 6000. DDR4 is also 2 times faster than a DDR3. So we're having 4 times the memory size and 2 times the speed of that same memory. So we're screaming for performance. That unit is just a beast.
And that was Pioneer's Robert Money coming to us talking about, well, let's face it, some pretty impressive numbers, especially if you're looking at the new DMHWT 6000 NEX source unit from Pioneer that's really causing a ruckus. Listen, if you want any more information on any of the products we covered, and of course that unit right there, make sure you head on to the website, which we'll put on the screen right now. Now, my takeaway from all this, we didn't get the time to get into everything we wanted to talk about when it comes to Audiophile and the Pioneer brand. The history, the OEM manufacturing prowess, the anechoic chambers that speakers are being developed and tested on. We've had episodes where we've talked about it, but I think it's clear to me that Pioneer's mission has always been to optimize the sound experience in a car. And what they've done is close the gap between that ever so important consumer convenience side of things with the audiophile critical listening side of things by introducing products such as this brand new 6000 unit. I haven't listened to it yet, but I do encourage you. Listen to what Robert has just said in this episode and go listen to for yourself and see if Pioneer has actually succeeded in closing the gap. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.